Hello, everybody, and welcome to the TARDIS Zone. And this is ClassicWhoZone. I hope you're all doing very well indeed. And we are here to talk about uh, City of Death. But panelists are running a bit late, so we'll give them a few minutes to get here. But hope everybody's doing well today. It's a bit of a chilly one. I have to say. It's very cold. We're supposed to get a bit of snow here. We'll see if that happens. I mean, they've been saying we're getting snow for the last couple of months, and it hasn't actually happened. But there you go. What can you say? But I've sent out all the emails to all my guests. And here we go. We got one guest in already. I know PD Rich sent me a message 20 minutes ago or something, or half an hour ago, so I replied. So he's free, so hopefully he reads it and he's here. But where is the man that actually chose this episode? Well, I better text him and see what the story is. Well, he's at the being tweeting on Twitter. Let me see. Just have to remind him. Right. Send him a message. But let's bring on our guest while we're waiting. It's the one and only Queen Charlotte.
Hello, everybody. I was having my tea. That's why I'm here now.
Well, Grant, sure, we start at 6:30 anyway. And I don't mind once the other lad, but I tell you, where this Lee fella doesn't turn up tonight now, we're gonna have to give him an air bashing now. In fairness, he's the one that picked this story. He better show up.
But it's Baker, so it's his doctor.
Aye. He's probably feckin' forgotten. Anyway, I've sent them. Look, sometimes this happens. He gets very busy, so we'll give him a few minutes anyway. Interesting story coming up. Your first time watching, wasn't it?
Yeah, like I said, there's a whole chunk of Baker that I've still yet to watch because there's just so many episodes and stories.
Well, I'll tell you what. Here he is, finally. But seems that when I get everybody on, as it's your first time watching, you can start off this evening and give us your thoughts and feelings on the story, and then we'll get the thoughts and feelings of our next guest, who absolutely adores and loves Tom Baker's doctor. And he's fashionably late, as he always is, but he's here. It's the one and only Problem Big.
Hello. Yeah, sorry. I was trying to find my headphone jack for the computer. I can't find it anywhere, so I have to go and get another pair of headphones.
Oh, I hate when that happens, man. I have loads of jacks, right? The problem is, it's like one of these converters, and every single set of earphones that I have doesn't fit. It's for
It
the
doesn't
larger
like
one.
it.
It just doesn't, and it never works. There's always a crackling sound, especially if it's a cheap one. I know PD Rich is actually joining us as well. He has the night off, so we'll wait until PD gets here. He gave me a thumbs up on my message, so I told him I'd already sent him an email. So we'll wait till he comes in, and then we'll start the discussion. But how are you two?
Good. This is my week off, so I've just had a nice couple of days of lie-ins and chilling and not having to worry about usual things like I do at work. So
yeah. I woke up to a very eventful morning. My member stream was blocked worldwide.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I went into a little bit of detail today. I did a quick stream today. It was only 15 minutes, but just to explain that I had to take it down. Apparently they don't like me showing the South Park clip, and that's what I was taken down for. The South Park clip, I actually got it confirmed now through email. So just a word of warning to people out there: if you are showing that clip, apparently you have to break it up really, really a lot. If you play the full 40 it's only a 40-second clip, like, but it was blocked worldwide. So yeah, don't do that, folks. Don't do that. I won't go to some.
Of all the things to get your stream blocked, I'm sorry, that's hilarious.
I know. Something else did happen, but I'm not going to mention it because it hasn't affected the channel. But all I'll just say is that there's still some sad people out there, and you need to get a life. And that's all I'm going to say on it. I'm not going to dwell on it too much, and I'm not going to go into detail on it. All I'll just say is people need to move on, because I have. So we'll leave it at that. But Lee, how are you?
Yeah, fine. Apparently, tomatoes are a problem, and fruit. Like the shelves are empty. So
yes,
that's great.
yeah.
I've seen that.
We're gonna get shortages again.
I've seen
really,
that.
really
Why?
soon.
Yeah, but hang on. See, this is the thing that's puzzling me, right? And I'm not. Look, you all know I love a conspiracy theory. I've never shied away from that fact, right? But when you've got processing farms, processing plants, and chicken farms, and other things just going up in flames with no particular explanation, I sniff something's going on here. Now, I have actually noticed over, especially since this pandemic apparently was officially over, I've noticed that bread is not as fresh as it used to be. Milk goes off a lot faster, and the vegetables that you're getting in the supermarket go off a lot faster than they used to. So they've either been storing up the fruit and the veg, which to me would be nearly impossible unless they're freezing it. Then they're putting it in the supermarkets, and then obviously because it's at the being frozen, they're going off a lot. Even bananas, right? Even bananas are going off. Cheryl
I've noticed that. Yeah.
Oh no, there's nothing worse than trying to peel one when it's like not solid.
Gloopy.
Yeah. Well, she bought. Do you know the Tesco bananas that you get, the school bananas for kids? Well,
that's what I'm talking about.
She bought a couple of them. She didn't eat a banana. She put them in the fridge, right? Because we always put a bit of fruit in the fridge anyway for some weird reason, but I do, and she's kind of just done that now.
Yeah, you have to now. And the bananas I got from Iceland, don't ever get them from Iceland. I'll never do that again. They were yellow one day, the next day they were all black.
Yeah, that's what happened. Right, listen, she took out banana. The skin looked perfectly yellow. She opened it up and the thing exploded when she opened it up. Banana came shooting out of it.
Yeah,
right, I've noticed. Worse. Listen, I haven't really said much, but I have noticed that bread has gone off a lot faster. Milk is, and there's something wrong with the vegetables. And I don't care. It's not a conspiracy. There's something definitely going on with our food, but obviously, we can't prove that, but there's dodgy crap. And apparently as well, Bill Gates has been experimenting with, this plant-based meat or something. And apparently now it's been linked to apparently wherever they're using it is allegedly causing cancer in people. So these plant-free, these plant-based stuff,
alternatives,
you need to be reading about them. I'm not saying that they're all bad. Listen, I eat a bit of plant-based as well with my regular diet, like I do. I'm not gonna lie, there's some of the stuff that's actually nice and I will eat, right? But you really do need to be looking into the back of these and the ingredients and googling what these ingredients are, right? Because that's when you find out what you're actually putting in your body, folks. We should be actually doing that with everything that we eat, especially processed stuff anyway. But we need to be paying more attention to that now. Years ago, we wouldn't pay attention to that sort of stuff. But they can actually, they can genetically modify food and everything. Like we've had that whole debate and bans on certain foods that were genetically modified. And, we've got to be more aware of these things. But anyway, we don't want to bang on about that because we are here for the City of Death, and we do have PD Rich who has joined us, and he has a day off, man. There you go.
Nay.
PD Rich, he has a day off, man. You must have heard me. How are you?
Yeah. I'm fine.
You?
Sorry about Monday. It's just
it's all right. It's all right.
Filming, you know.
It's all right.
Rip you out of your bed at 7 o'clock in the morning to go off and do filming. And it's like, I don't want to do filming today.
It'll be grand.
It's like being a fighter pilot with nuclear war. Do you want to do nuclear war today? No, I want to stay around the mess.
Stay in bed, thank you.
I'll stay in bed.
Thank you. Lying's more fun.
Yeah, exactly.
War games not today.
No, not today.
Anyway, yeah, mad. So, just before we start the stream, obviously we have to kind of talk about the last couple of days and the huge events that have happened. Joe Biden visiting Ukraine, and then Vladimir Putin putting out his speech. We are no doubt a couple of steps away.
2 minutes to midnight.
No, this is no joke, right? We are on the verge of something here, and people must start speaking up a lot more. Joe Biden, it wants to lead us to war, right? And now we're hearing other politicians around Europe is saying the same thing. We, the people, don't want war. So it's your job as politicians to do right by us. And we're telling you we do not want a war. If we have a war now, I can tell you it's not going to end well. We are going to be wiped off the face of this planet. So it's up to the leaders. I don't know what Joe Biden's up to. I don't care about the conspiracy theories about Ukraine and all of this other rubbish. Right now, all of these people need to stop this war rhetoric, and Zelensky and Putin have to sit down and talk. This cannot escalate any further, but there are people out there and politicians out there determined that this happens, right? And it's always the same when the US president sucks domestically, they look for something else to latch on to, and this is what Biden is going to do. Be under no doubt, we are on the brink of a third world war if these leaders do not get their act together. We, the people, and everybody, whatever platform you're on, send letters to your politicians, tell them we do not want war. It's as simple as that, right? Because if
we can't afford a war, there we go.
Well, it's not even that. It's not even about the financial thing. It's the human cost.
Exactly.
Right? The human cost this time around will be much greater than World War I and World War II combined. There's 6 billion people on the planet. If they go nuclear, right, there's not going to be 6 billion on the planet anymore. Right? The ones that do survive, right? Radiation poisoning, cancer, there'll be problem with pregnancies, all of that. Yeah. Right? We will fucking suffer. So these politicians, I beg you, just fucking sit down and talk. Whatever the issue is between both parties, sort the fucking out. Nobody wants war. Do you know what? I'm actually kind of frightened that these politicians speak about war so easily.
Yeah.
Like, they don't really understand the consequence if we do. Trust me, if there's another world war, North Korea is going to get involved, and they will have no hesitation in using nuclear weapons. Then if they use nuclear weapons, there'll be a retaliation, and then another country will use nuclear weapons, and so on and so on and so on. Right? And all of these elites, they'll be all fine. They'll be all fine. They've already planned for this doomsday event. They'll be all fine. It'll be all of us that'll be fucking screwed. Right? Our future generations screwed. And then the ones that are left are all the assholes. Right? Can you imagine what kind of society we built after we're all dead?
God,
It won't be much of one. Trust me. So anyway, I'll leave it there. I don't want to get, but that is the big news, and we should keep an eye on that. And I don't mean to scare people, but you need to wake up and smell the coffee, because it's not time to be burying your head in the sand. We're on the brink of something here, but we're the people. And if everybody bands together around the world and demands that there is no war, these politicians will have no choice. They'll have no way out. They will have to sit down and talk. I wish there was a leader out there that was brave enough to go against the rhetoric and come out and actually tell these two countries to get their act together and actually sit down and talk. But there's no country out there that has the balls to do it, not even my country. We're neutral, and now apparently we're sending over peacekeepers, apparently. Right? We're getting involved in it now. And I'm no, it's wrong. It's wrong. Well, we'll see what happens anyway. But listen, let's hope none of the shit hits the fan anyway for another year or two, because I'd like to see Doctor Who before then, because if we all die, the last memory we have of Doctor Who is Jodie Whittaker's fucking era, and that can't happen. Anyway, let's get on to tonight's topic of conversation. We got 9 people watching, but nobody in the chat. So whoever's there, if you just want to come in and say hello, please do.
Hello. We're going to talk about Doctor Who now, folks.
Yeah, I know.
Talk about the other City of Death.
I know. I know. ClassicWhoZone and New WhoZone's not very popular, right? But there is a few people that do like it, so that's the reason why I continue to do it. So if there's anybody there, come on in and say hello if you've never seen one of these. And obviously, we'll start off with Charlotte, because it was Charlotte's first time, guys.
I'm waiting for Lee's comment now.
Watching this story, we've got super fan Problem Bing, who's a huge Tom Baker fan, and it's going to be interesting to see if Charlotte makes any points that Lee doesn't agree with. But we'll see. We'll see. This is what I love about this, though. So Charlotte, give us your thoughts on City of Death, Tom Baker.
Well, I knew it by reputation. I'd never watched it, but I knew it was one of those sort of like hallowed stories that a lot of fans talk about. And just the first thing that hit me, and it's such a striking thing, is because this was filmed in France, and you feel that so much in this story when you watch it. Like, just the incidental stuff that you probably wouldn't pick up on because they're in a different street, and they're like doing the subway, whatever it's called in France, metro. I can't quite remember.
Yeah.
And like being by Paris, the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe, and all those really recognisable things. And it does really make this story feel different. Like, I understand I understand that comment a bit more when I've heard people say that. And it just gives it this weird vibe as well, that it feels like this isn't quite Doctor Who almost, but it is. Because like I said, it's just such a visual difference. And even just the way the Doctor says, we're on holiday. That idea of he's just on a jolly for this story. He's not really looking for trouble. He's not looking to discover or to defend anything. This adventure really does sort of land in his lap all the issues that are happening. So I love the setting, and like I said, it really gives that vibe of something different. I adore, and is it Duggar? Have I got the name right?
Duggan,
that's it. I love him and the Doctor. Like, they've just got this lovely sort of love-hate relationship that, like, the Doctor's just constantly having a go at him. And Duggan
he's constantly punching people, isn't he?
Yeah, and Duggan's just like this. He's basically just used as like a blunt instrument. Just when the story needs somebody to get knocked out, there's Duggan, and he'll just punch them.
Especially at the end.
Yeah,
that could be the most important punch in history.
Oh yeah, but it's like Tom has a line when he I can't remember who he knocks out. He knocks out quite a few people in the story, and he goes, "Can you? How does he? I'm probably the doctor basically says, "Can you for once not punch somebody when I'm trying to talk to them?" And I'm just like, that is such a brilliant little line. So, and I love how he's just sort of like this quasi companion for the story, but he doesn't have a clue what's going on. And that comes across in the performance as well. He's sort of this hapless idiot in the best sense, because you've got the Doctor and Romana, who's just sort of like talking all the gobbledygook, like techno language, and he's just looking at them like, "Did you just say you're an alien?" And they just don't even entertain him, because he's just having this little breakdown in the corner because he's realised there's aliens. It's so funny. That's the other thing that really came across. This is such a witty script. This is such like a script that knows it's funny and really leans on it, and it works. Like Tom's, but when he first gets in the house of the words are hard, of the alien, of the villain, I forgot what he is. Is he what is he?
Skyroth.
That's the alien. What is he in the story? He's like a count. That's it, isn't he? He's a count.
Yeah.
When like they're in his house, and Tom's just acting the idiot. There's no like when like he first comes across him and he's like,
Count Scaroloni. There you go.
When Tom's like, "Oh, what a violent butler, how fun," and stuff like that. It's just peak Tom. And this really is. You can tell he's at the height of sort of what he likes to do with his Doctor, and you really see that. And I do think the villain's really interesting, because you sort of feel sympathetic in some beats. It's like, oh God, like he's just trying to fix himself because he's been put across time, and he's sort of the last of his race, and he's trying to get them to come back. But like the more you see of him, the more you think, no, actually he's quite a nasty piece of work. So all that sympathy you might have had like slowly gets eroded away, until at the end he's just crazy and he just needs to get put down. And like the way he like kills the love interest just so callously, that's when you're like, yeah, I can't really have any feelings of trying to defend him at this point. It's really good. Like, I can't think of any proper criticisms of it, if I'm being honest. I can understand now why this is such like a loved Tom story. Like I said, I really can't think of any criticisms, because I was just and I think the only way I think this could have been any worse is if they tried to stretch it out into a 6-parter. Yeah. I think this story works as well because it's 4 parts. It's quite contained. It knows what it wants to do. It doesn't have a lot of fluff. It doesn't have a lot of padding. So, like I said, that works in its favour. So yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Chris.
We got someone in the chat to interact with now, guys. Anyway, wow. Lee, obviously you've heard from Charlotte there. She seems to be quite impressed by the story, but it is an impressive story, Lee, isn't it? And it's got layers, and it does have that humour, as Charlotte rightly points out, and it doesn't shy away from that fact either. But it does have its sinister moments.
Yeah, I think the Graham Williams era was a real sort of a big compromise, I felt, on the likes of Mary Whitehouse and all that lot, after the darkness and the violence of the Hinchcliffe era, which was universally loved by fans and the population at large.
That's all that matters, not so.
That's what matters, Karen. Absolutely. And the Williams era sort of introduced a sort of more sort of light-hearted, comical sort of take, which for the most part, I would argue, wasn't the best. But when you had Douglas Adams, the writer of The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, coming in as the script editor, and with stories like City of Death, the sense of humour was completely simpatico with Tom's character. They both shared a very similar, offbeat, wacky, alien sense of humour. And this was absolutely a perfect synergy that was put together in this story. So I think this was peak Douglas Adams, Tom Baker, Williams, all fusing together, working perfectly. And directed by who was the one who directed this? This was
Michael
Michael
Hayes.
Hayes. Yeah. And it just works. You know, you've got really great, a really great villain, one of the greatest villains I would argue in the history of the show, in Scaroth or Count Scaglione. His wife, who was completely unaware of who he was, really. You're a beautiful woman, probably. Which I love that line. One of the great memes. Yeah, the story as well is timey-wimey. You know, this is a proper time travel story. You've got Count Scaglione going back through Renaissance Italy in the modern day, and you find that he's been there since the beginning of human evolution. He's the last of his kind. He was stuck on Earth, and at the end, you see that he is responsible, really, for creating life on Earth.
he's like the jump start, isn't he?
He
Because
is.
the fluid
Yeah.
stuff's there. He sort of gives it the kick in a sense it needs.
Yeah, and you see him doing his sort of timey-wimey experiments as well with his scientist who's, making things younger and then that doesn't quite work out. There's nice little subplots in there. You've got the stuff with the Mona Lisa.
Yeah. I
paintings.
love that personally.
I think it's great.
Yeah.
And it ends with you don't know if the Mona Lisa is a copy or not.
Or if it's the real one. I know, yeah, I love that though, do you?
It's a fake.
Yeah.
And Tom Baker puts the emphasis on, the Fourth Doctor says, if you're going to put it on the monetary value, you're not looking at the art, really, so I'm paraphrasing.
But even if they are fake, they were painted years ago, so in reality, they may have been fake, but now they're actually priceless. Just
Well, they were
like the Mona Lisa.
copies, yeah. And I love the sort of, I love when the Doctor talks about, his famous friends. When he talks about Leonardo, he always talks about his famous friends, doesn't he?
Oh, the Shakespeare bit.
Yeah. I'd love to see more of that, like him actually meeting them. That would be really great. What have we got here? Oh yeah, this is fantastic. Yeah, I love the makeup on that as well. And I love Romana in this story. Tom and the Fourth Doctor and Romana are just really, 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 really fun to watch in this. They're working really well together, and Duggan is a wonderful additional companion for this story. I'd love to have seen Duggan stay on.
Same.
He was so good. He later appeared in Mysterious Planet, didn't he? And something else, I can't remember. What was the other story he appeared in? I don't know. He was also in Blake 7, in Killer, I think it was.
He wasn't the only one.
Yeah, well, that's true. There's an awful lot. Even Colin Baker appeared in Blake 7. But yeah. What else can I say about it? I just think the humour is what makes this. The setting in Paris is wonderful.
Trial of a Time Lord.
Yeah. What?
He was in Trial of a Time Lord as well.
Yeah, Mysterious Planet.
It's the one. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think. I just think this is one of the most sort of perfectly written Doctor Who stories. You've got it all. You've got the time travel. You've got the space villain monster thing. You've got the mystery. You've got the backwards and forwards. You've got the huge event that created life on Earth, the greatest punch ever thrown in history, which is all set up beautifully by Duggan's actions throughout the 4 episodes.
Yeah, it's like when the Doctor's like, oh, we need some equipment to get through this door, and Duggan's just like, no, you don't, and just legs it. So basically, he's a forklift truck. Thanks, but now I get the joke.
Yeah, and at the end, the wonderful John Cleese and Ellen LeBron at the end of the art gallery, looking at the TARDIS, exquisite. That was great. And apparently, because John Cleese was friends with Douglas Adams for many years, John Cleese happened to be in the area at the time and just sort of last minute addition, which is just great. I love that. Just happened to be, I think, filming in the same studio at the same time or something. But yeah, it was a fun story. As Queen Charlotte quite correctly says, it's perfect as a 4-part. If this had gone on 6 parts, it would have lost it. It's a very tight script. It was a very well-crafted story, and the characters just absolutely timeless. That's what I love about it. It's the most watched Doctor Who episode or story in the history of the show. I think it was something like 15 or 16 million. I know there was a strike on at the time, but it's still regarded, I think it's peak Tom Baker.
Well, wasn't this the one that Russell famously showed Julie when she was like, can you show me an episode to give me like an understanding of Doctor Who? And I'm sure famously it was this story.
Why wouldn't
Yeah,
you?
I think it was
Why
this
wouldn't you?
story, yeah, and a couple of New Who stories, and I think there was another couple of classic stories as well. Yeah, he gave him a care package to go and watch, and he was leaving comments on Twitter or Instagram, I should say.
No, I'm talking 2005, not Shooty now. I'm sure that Russell gave this one to Julie Gardiner because she didn't come into the show as a fan. So I'm sure the story is she was like, can you show me a classic story?
Well, here's a question for you, Charlotte. Because you said you hadn't watched this one before, so you've obviously recently watched it. Does this change your views on where you sort of how you feel about the Fourth Doctor, or did this?
I think it really shows Tom's acting chops because of, like I said, the comedy is such a hard thing to do and to land, and every witty line he lands, like that whole bit, like I said, when he's in the house with the Count, and
I love your butler. He's so violent.
But it's not just like it's like when he does that, when he's like all his motions are just exaggerated and it works, and it just sort of, I still like him, but I still prefer other classic Doctors purely because of taste and personal.
Get in the bin. Get in the bin.
No, because it is weird because I do love. I do love Troughton, and he has a similar sort of vibe, but I just prefer Troughton over Tom. I think it's just a personal thing with me. Like, you can't say Tom's a bad Doctor. Like, nobody can say that. And I get why he's got that grip and that love from the fan base, but it's just, Doctors are personal. I've always thought this, and you can watch a Doctor and appreciate them, but they don't sort of grab you the same as another Doctor.
That's it. Down to personal choice. But get in the bin anyway.
Legend of the Traveling TARDIS is in the.
Hey.
Don't forget, he's off. He's off at the. He's doing that convention thing on Friday.
Oh yeah.
Which one?
So don't forget to tune in on Friday on his channel. If we can hook something up when I'm streaming the TARDIS Zone Talks on Friday, then hopefully we'll be able to get him on. But it's not set in stone. So we'll see what we can do. If not, we will see Christian next week, next Friday. He'll be joining us. And the Clone Ranger says Troughton is the GOAT.
Yeah, I adore Troughton. He's my classic Doctor, if I were to pick one.
Sorry, I don't mean to be skipping comments. It's this StreamYard's acting up again. I would go as far as to show the alien of the Doctor that he doesn't fit in. He does say the right things, and sometimes his brain is being flooded with thoughts that the obvious gets by him. Okay.
Yeah, I think that the key to the success of Tom's Doctor is the alien quality. He is
Yeah.
the most alien. He is the most, I think, fastest thinking. He always seems to be several steps ahead. That's why he's so comical, because he deflates any ego in the room instantly by clowning them. And he
Yeah.
also puts them off guard because he makes them think that he's a fool. And he's really not. He's just throwing them off, and he's actually that cocky because he knows he's already ahead of the game. And even if he's not, he will use that as a way to just throw people off in order to buy himself time. It's so great to watch, and he really does. He does light up the room when he walks in. You know, he's immediately an authority figure, or he's a clown figure with authority. He's such a master of controlling the room when he walks in. You know, doesn't matter who's threatening him, who's got the guns pointed at him, who's got the power in that room. He will disarm them just by talking at them.
Well, he does. There's that whole scene with the Countess, isn't there? When like she's threatening him, and like he should be the one who's not in the powerful position there, but he just says a really simple thing of, "Do you know this guy?" Really, he gets her to think.
Yeah.
And he doesn't like use a lot of complicated words in that scene. He just sort of says, "Well, how long have you known him? Have you really like?" And that's what gets her to think. And that's a pure example of what you're talking about, Lee, of him sort of getting into her head.
Oh yes.
Just by talking to her.
Absolutely. I mean, he really does have that knack. He does unsettle people. You know, there's big curls. You know, those bug eyes and big teeth.
Yeah.
And he really does have this ability to sort of put people at unease. You know, he can change on a dime as well. He'll be all very comical one minute, very dark the next, and then very astute and putting people at ease or unease in an instant. You know, it's a very clever portrayal of the Doctor. It makes him far more unpredictable. I think that's what I love about his qualities. He's
Especially when he's drunk.
Yes, yeah. You don't need to tell me.
Sorry, I had to bring that one up.
Yeah.
So what did you think, PD, of it?
Oh, I think this is an interesting episode. The casting is outstanding for this episode.
Yeah,
We've got Julian Glover from Indiana Jones and Star Wars.
Fantastic.
Catherine Snell from Space 1999. You got David Graham, who was the original voice of the Daleks, one of them, and he was in the Gunfighters. It's an excellent casting you have in this one. It was a good episode as well. As I probably was saying, it's a Douglas Adams one. And Doug just has this weird way of writing stuff. I think he started he really started restoring the Graham era of Doctor Who slowly. Graham Williams era. I just think he kind of was starting to slowly pull it out from this kind of weird, kind of like very kind of neutral Doctor Who it was going. From Hinchcliffe's very violent Doctor Who. And I think he did a great job. I mean, I quite like this. This was one of the first episodes they actually filmed outside the UK, wasn't it?
I think so. I
Yeah.
can't remember anything in the other Doctors when it was so obvious that they were filming abroad.
Yeah, it's one of the first times they filmed. This is like the road trip episode. Yeah, there's also coming back to the casting. You had John Cleese as probably being mentioned. That was interesting.
I didn't know he was in this. I was watching it. I was just like, oh my god, that's John Cleese.
Yeah.
Good mates with Dougie.
Yeah. It was insane. I thought, hang on a minute, this is an episode with John Cleese in it.
And I remember watching that as a kid because I was already by that time loving watching Fawlty Towers, and I just fell about laughing because it was just so funny.
Yeah.
I just remember as a kid watching this for the first time.
Yeah.
I would have been 4 years old, and then laughing. Yeah. Because I loved Fawlty Towers and seeing him from Fawlty Towers being, it's Basil Fawlty.
Yeah. He's great, old John Cleese. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And also go back to David Graham. He was also the voice of Brains in Thunderbirds. It's like you got some real science fiction royalty in this episode. Thinking about it. It's an insanely good episode.
Well, if you think about it, right, I was just thinking about this while you were all talking. So as we know, the Hinchcliffe era has always got a bit of
Yeah.
stick, right?
Mm.
This could have
My
went the
favourite.
other way,
Yeah.
if you think about it, because people consider that era of Doctor Who to be the definitive. This story could have very easily fell flat on its back. But I think Doctor Who fans, especially, well, it's not, well, I think it's unfair to say, especially back then, but back then, I think they were clever enough to see that they were still getting the same show. Mightn't have been as ultra violent as it was before, but it was still able to have that scare factor, to have that creepiness, to have all of that, the comedy. This doesn't work. This story doesn't work if it's any other Doctor playing it. This
Yeah.
is a Tom Baker story.
Yeah.
This
Tom
is
and Doug
tailor
never
made.
go together.
Tailor made for Tom. This wouldn't work with any other Doctor.
No, it's good
Not
Doug
the way that
Adams.
we always say, "Oh, what episode would we love to see, or story would we love to see another Doctor do?"
Yeah.
And we can pick some. But with
Yeah.
City of Death, you can't do that. There's no
Yeah.
way that another Doctor could play this.
I think it's more also. When I think about it, I don't think you could have another Doctor and another companion in this story. It's such a Doctor and Romana, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
the way they bounce off each other is so unique to that pairing and those actors.
Well, if
And-
you had had Leela in this story, you wouldn't have needed Duggan.
No.
You know.
Well, no, but it's not just that. It's like obviously you got the bit when the Doctor gets sort of isn't part of the story for a bit. So you've got Romana,
Yeah.
and because she's a time lady, she can fix the machine. And
I think
because
in this
she's also
story
a time lady,
In
she
this
does
story,
the delay.
she said she was a Time Lord.
Just for me, it's
I know
different,
she. I know
to
she
be
says
honest.
it in. I know she says it in Creature in the Pit. She says she's Time Lord, and I'm pretty sure she said it in this story too. I mean, anyone in the chat might be able to say yes or no to that. I'm pretty sure she did. But I just thought that was interesting. She called herself a Time Lord.
But I think it's just a normal human companion couldn't do what she did with
Yeah.
the machinery,
Yeah.
with the delay, with everything that was going on, the knowledge. So I think any story with that pairing, it naturally suits them better than anything else because you've got such a different dynamic on screen from just a normal Doctor human bog standard sort of current day.
And the sparking between the two was perfect as well. And I think this obviously during the height of their sort of romantic involvement before it all went south, which you can see in the following season. So I think that was a really great duo. That they were my first Doctor and companion. Romana 2 was the one that I latched onto, that I knew first, at least to my memory. And she will always be my first companion. And I always loved the way that they were with each other. And growing up watching Classic Who, I was always waiting for that kind of relationship between the Doctor and companion, and I never saw that with any other companion until maybe about Ace. But Ace was really just a kid, and not on any level the same as the Doctor, which I don't think there's ever really been achieved since.
I think also, yeah, because like Romana's got such a unique self-righteousness about her character, which just works.
Yeah.
Like, I love the beginning when he takes
She's a
her
snob.
he takes her to see these paintings, and he's like, "Look at all these brilliant things in the universe," and she just sort of looks at them. She's like, "Oh, they're all right." That's the vibe you get off her. And I love it when he's like, "Well, it's a very pretty picture," and she just looks at him like, "What are you going on about?"
Yeah.
That's what I mean. But it works. Like, she pulls it off. It doesn't come across as annoying somehow, which I think is quite impressive.
Yeah. No, she balances. I mean, the thing is with her sort of snobbery is that she balances it off with just being incredibly bright.
Yeah.
And in a very very quick, and able to be sort of in charge, and she's a good foil for the Doctor as well. You know, those two bounce off each other figuratively as well as literally.
Oh yeah.
But they worked. They worked because he's like the sort of wizened professor, and she's like the young bright student. But she's very precocious, and he's sort of always kind of undermining her a little bit with digs here and there, and she's doing the same back.
Yeah.
And it's beautifully comical. And it's a very affectionate relationship.
Does anybody know why their marriage kind of collapsed?
Well,
Was
he's
it the
Tom
pressures?
Baker.
Was it the pressures of kind of working together and then going home? Because that would, wouldn't it, in some ways, kind of put pressure. If you think about, if you're working with someone all day on a set, and then you're literally going home with them at night time as well, there's bound to be clashes and
Well,
and
Tom
tension
Baker
there.
was, you know, a
And he's a
renowned
bit, yeah.
drinker and a very gregarious type, very overbearing type, and quite intimidating. Trust me.
You
I
still
thi-
won't ever get over that, will you?
I forgive him, but I will
God
not
for
forget
life.
He's scared for life, like he is.
absolutely. You
Every
would be
stream
too.
Tom Baker's brought up, he always brings this up. You need therapy, man.
But I think it was
Uh,
probably just one of those whirlwind things, and the
Yeah, that
reality
can
of
happen.
each
I was gonna
other's
say, wasn't there-
personality differences were quite too much.
I was going to say, wasn't there a bit of an age gap as well,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
which I think naturally would have put a strain on any
Yeah, true,
couple.
because people would have been reporting on it and talking about, and it does. That does have an effect. It's like the two from the Orville. Remember, in the
Oh, yeah.
fourth season, they fell in love, they got married, and then by the second season, or the end of the second season, we found out that they were splitting up and living in separate places, like, but still can work together. Like, that was good. But have you noticed the Orville hasn't been renewed yet? That makes me think it's not going to be. And I'll just say, well, you know, I'm not actually surprised. While some consider season 3 very good, they got the balance right in series 2, and that's the way they should have carried on the show.
Yeah.
But they tried to be a bit too serious with it then, and I think it lost its charm. So if they go back to the formula that worked in season 2, I'm all for a fourth season. But if they don't, forget about it. But anyway, back to this, because we got loads of other comments. We got loads of people. We started off with nobody in the chat, guys, and now all of a sudden, they all turned up.
To be
Brilliant.
fair, it could have been notifications. Sometimes YouTube is bad for streams.
Oh, yeah.
I know that's
Takes
why.
about 5-10
That's why
minutes.
people say, "Why do you do the 5-minute countdown?" That's why. That's why it gives people time. Hopefully, the notification goes through. It pops up on my computer midway through the intro, so I get a notification. But that doesn't mean that everybody will get it at the same time. So that's why I do the 5-minute intro. So always at the start of these streams, you know, guys, if you still want, skip the first 5 minutes, you know, skip all the trailers and just watch the stream. But I have to do that so people are alerted, because just posting it up is not enough anymore. And anybody that runs a YouTube channel will tell you numbers are down on everybody's channel.
Oh, yeah.
YouTube's screwing everybody over, but the other platforms are not doing us any favors either.
Well.
But anyway,
Did you hear about Mama Susan?
Yeah, I was going to say we're going to have a new Overlord soon.
Yeah, new Overlord coming. Mama Susan's doing a runner.
better make that far, as I'll be covering Doctor Who on my channel soon. I've been into Who
good,
since
Zombie.
the TV movie came back in 1996. Yeah, we'll actually have to do. I think we've covered the movie, but we've never covered it extensively. And
No, I think we did like
actually-
one watch through.
Yeah, I
from
think we did a
memory.
watch along and we
Yeah.
just gave a brief. We were all in a hurry then, and I think we just gave her a quick review and left.
Yeah.
We will have to revisit that movie
Love
again.
that one.
Because
My
Paul
favourite.
McGann is a great doctor. There's no doubt. And even after all these years, when he came back for the Moffat era, he proved yet again that he still has it. It's such a shame that that man hasn't gotten his own spin-off show. Look, maybe there's a chance. I hope there is. Even if it's animation and he's voicing it, That's good enough for me. In
He's got
fairness,
he's got
Yeah.
such a lovely voice that would work
yeah.
with him.
So that would work with him. I would watch that, man. I'm watching Star Trek cartoons. Me and Lee tried Lower Decks. Now we gave up on that one, but Star
Yeah.
Trek Prodigy is bleeding deadly. So when they actually do cartoons right, they're still fun even as an adult. Love it, man. Do you know what I've been watching lately? Just before we get back to the Doctor Who stuff, Dog Tanyan. Do you
Oh,
remember
yeah.
that show?
I love
I
Dog
used to
Tanyan.
fucking love it, man. And I've been recently watching. I've been watching The Animals of Farthing Wood as well.
Yeah.
I used to love that. That very first episode is traumatizing. I never realized, man. As
Oh,
a
yeah.
kid. Oh my god, the literal amount of animals that die when in that first initial episode when they're leaving Farthing Wood. Oh my god.
But that stuff makes me laugh. You can tell the difference between British-made cartoons and American-made ones.
Yeah.
From a mile off.
Yeah,
It was French, I think. French,
yeah, it was French. It
Japanese.
was
Oh, right.
yeah, it was French. It was because at the end of it, then all the bleeding countries came up, didn't it? In the titles where they were showing this show, and RTE had it over here, and we used to watch it. But I love that. I love that show. It's brilliant. Now the later seasons weren't as great when they got to White Deer Park, but there's
Yeah.
still a good few episodes in that. But
So
the
there
whole
you go,
journey
Noel. Spacebook agrees with you before he has to go.
on what?
On what's that
Tanyan.
show?
Dog Tanyan?
Yeah, Dog Tanyan.
Yeah, it's a great little show, man. I'm loving going back and watching all of these. I've been watching Thundercats as well. I've been watching the old Turtles show. They just
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but lately I've just been so bored and fed up with TV
Oh,
that
yeah.
I'm just going back to the stuff that I grew up with, and I'm enjoying it a lot more. Do you know what I've even done as well? I started off with Doctor No. I'm on Roger Moore's James Bond now. I think I'm coming up to Octopussy, or I think it's Octopussy, isn't it? Or is it Moonraker? It's one of the ones that I don't actually like, but I've been watching them all, so I'm watching the whole James Bond franchise as well in between all of the other stuff that I'm watching, including Picard season 3. So yeah, I've been
Yeah.
busy.
The thing you got to realize with Moonraker is the space shuttle was just a prototype then. And it's
Yeah, I
actually, you
know.
look back
but
at it, it's awful, but back
I
then it was
know, but-
amazing.
I mean, the film itself is
I know.
just so. At that stage,
Sci-fi movie.
I have to be honest. If you look at Roger Moore's early films in the Bond franchise, they're actually kind of tonally like the Sean Connery ones. There's not as much comedy, but you can see that it's starting to creep in a lot more. Now, Sean Connery, in fairness, he had some cracking one-liners during his era, and it is some of them are funny. I'm not saying there wasn't any comedy in the Sean Connery era, but you could see that they leaned very heavily on that in the later movies in the Roger Moore franchise, and it became ridiculous with all the gadgets as well. There was just too many gadgets, for fuck's sake. Leave it out. But anyway, I'm still enjoying it. Cheryl's been complaining because all she hears down every 2 hours because I watch movie after movie after movie, so I'm driving her up the wall. Anyway, let's see who we got in the comments. We got Peter Harrington. Let's fly, says Romana, on top of the Eiffel Tower. That's a nice touch of the alien.
Yeah, especially when Tom's like, that's a bit conspicuous. And she goes, okay, let's fly then. It's not like you said, the script is just so funny.
Yeah.
Love McCoy. Yes, Sachs would have been better. I mean, look, I mean, people have their opinions on McCoy. I'm going to say I think McCoy is highly underrated.
Yeah.
I just think the problem with his era is that he didn't get enough good episodes or enough good stories. I do believe that if he had continued, actually, you were starting to see a darker side to his Doctor, and he could be highly manipulating. I think we had got another season of McCoy going in the trajectory that he was going in. It would have been one of the greatest seasons of Doctor Who, personally, if they wrote it properly. But his Doctor certainly would have stood out. So I give McCoy a bit of an easier time than I would Colin Baker. I just don't like Colin Baker's attitude in real life, and I didn't like his Doctor's attitude, but That's it. So they got each other's. They got on each other's tits and all. It was allegedly fiery from the get go. Both Tom and Layla didn't suffer fools gladly. Oh well. If she was still, you know what? Fair play to her. She was given as good as she got.
Mm.
That's good to see. But that is a toxic relationship. So
Yeah.
and I think that after their marriage and all, they became friends, and then Tom
It
got
took a
married
while though, I
again.
think. I think it took them,
Yeah.
but they did eventually become friends,
Yeah.
which is
Let's
nice.
see. Yeah, it's always good if you can still they hardly look at each other in a state of decay. Yeah. Well, they could have bad days, and maybe she just didn't want to look at him, and he didn't want to look at her. It does happen. Look at me and Cheryl. I'm not going to sit here and tell you me and Cheryl have the perfect marriage. You do have your ups and downs. Trust me, folks. It happens with every relationship. You have fallen out with your families as well. It happens. It happens. The thing about it is that, if when you're with the right person, when, you're able to resolve your differences and move on. Me and Cheryl haven't had an argument since the pandemic is over, which is weird because during the pandemic we were getting on each other's nerves, and both of us were arguing with each other over just stupid little fucking things, like can
Yeah, but
happen.
it was a heightened situation for everybody.
Oh,
So
that's what I'm
yeah,
saying. Everybody was going through the same thing, but the thing about it is, me and Cheryl were able to, you know, after we'd have a blowout, she'd go into the room and I'd go into my room, we'd just both be sitting here pouting, and she'd be waiting for me to make a move, waiting for her to make a move. So it's whoever budges fucking first. Of course, guess who's always the one that budges first? Me.
Yeah.
Me. Because, at the end of the day, if it takes one of you to make that move, and it should be me anyway, because more than likely it's probably my fault why we're arguing in the first place. So, you go through these phases. But right now, man, since the pandemic is over, we haven't had one argument, not one. It's weird, being able to go out now and do other stuff, and
Yeah.
it's just lifted the weight now. But I will say now, since she's had her accident with her foot now, she's getting a bit on edge because obviously she hasn't been able to go out that much. By the way, she might need some bleeding surgery on her foot, but that's for another day. The tissue damage is really bad apparently, so they might need to operate. So there you go. So she'll find out. I think it's this week or something. I'm bad with bleeding dates. She'll kill me. Anyway. Yeah. Well, look. At the end of the day, as I said, that's life. They've been able to work their issues out. See, that's what adults do anyway.
Yeah.
That's what adults do at the end of the day. No matter what's gone on between the two of them, they've been able to find peace with each other. And that's nice. That is nice. And just before I go, Dog Tanyan forever. Yeah, Facebook. Yes, I do agree with you on that one. That is even the theme tune to that bleeding show is deadly. And that was French as well, wasn't it, Lee?
But
Lee, Dog
yeah.
Canyon was French as well, wasn't it? There was a lot. Actually, that's the weird thing when we were growing up. There was a lot of cartoons that we watched growing up that were from France and from other countries. Like, what was Barbar? Was it Barbar?
Baba was
The elephant.
French.
The elephant one. Yeah, was that French as well?
Yeah, Baba was supposed to be French, I think.
Yeah. Mad, man. And then we had Tom and Jerry, of course.
Yeah.
Keep meaning to buy Thundercats. Yeah, I do love Thundercats. Obviously, the original cartoon. Don't even bother trying to take a look at the other one. Just stick with the original, folks. That's what I say. I've been watching Vicky the Viking, says Darren Bradley.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
an old one.
everybody keeps going back and watching, but that's because there's nothing good out there, so people are
Yeah.
going
Well,
back.
I think it's more there's not enough of good stuff. Like you
Nah.
get the odd thing you can find and love, but it's not. Because
No,
I
it's
find
not. It's very inconsistent. The industry is very inconsistent nowadays. They'll put out some cracking stuff, and then we get months of crap as
Yeah.
well. You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I found I'm just going back to my games currently because it's just like there's nothing I can watch on telly.
Right. Well, the
Yeah.
Legend of the Traveling TARDIS has a Doctor Who podcast, SmackDown, LOL, WWF style. So if you just want to go and check that out, please do.
No, he's saying you should. He said he's saying you, Dan, and him should have a wrestling SmackDown thing.
All right, but think about this at beaches also. There's no point. I mean, why would you just want to suffer that humiliation? You're better off just declaring me the winner, and then you can choose and moan between yourselves who comes second and third. I'm only messing. That's actually not a bad idea.
Yeah.
A real WWE now, because come on, I watched wrestling for years, man. I know moves.
So Dan's a wrestling fan. He's watched wrestling.
Yeah. I haven't watched much wrestling nowadays, but back in the day I did. Back in the day. I just look at the wrestlers now and their costumes and stuff like that, and it just seems over the top to me. Whereas the 80s and 90s, and the Rock and all of that era was just brilliant for that entertainment. And in fairness, I have to say I've seen some injuries. Some poor female wrestler got a kick in the face during a match, and then she goes onto Instagram. She puts up a picture and she's got a big black eye.
Ooh.
Yeah, because the kick actually, not the way they fake the kicks, but your woman accidentally put a little bit extra. And
it got her in the face.
And I got her right in hit her bone, and then of course she had a black ring around her eye, man. Mad. It is dangerous. I'm not gonna lie, it is dangerous, but I just don't find it's my cup of tea anymore. It's a shame because I used to love wrestling back in the day. And then when my little brother came along, he loved it, and he used to love bleeding doing wrestling moves on you. He was a good little wrestler, my brother was. Man, he put you in a chokehold and everything, that kid. Madness, man. Madness. But yeah, Roy, is there anything else you guys want to add about City of Death before we get into the ratings? And I'll get you to rate the story. And if everybody in the chat wants to do the same now, please do so. Does anybody else want to add anything about this story before we do the ratings?
No. Got nothing to add.
No? Okay.
It's
well,
perfect.
Yeah, it is. We don't
Perfect
need
how it is.
We don't need to really bang on too much about it because obviously, we've mentioned all the talking points. Not an actual SmackDown, just smack talk between the three of us about Doctor Who. Yeah, we should actually do that. Organize that. That'll be great. Yeah, let's do that for a few weeks from now or something. We'll get everybody together and we'll have a big ass panel and we'll talk about whatever Doctor Who anybody wants to talk about. We'll just go through it all, and maybe some people on the panel will explain why they're Doctor Who fans, because that's the one thing. I've told my story. Obviously, you all know my story, how I became a Doctor Who fan. I think you've heard Lee's story as well. You've heard Charlotte's.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have heard Lee's. What am I saying? You've heard PD's. But
I was a Doctor Who fan from a kid. There you go.
But there might be people out there that haven't told their Doctor Who story. It might be just as simple as, well, my dad watched it, so I watched it. It could be something else that got you into Doctor Who. So that'll be interesting. So we'll do that. So what we'll do is we'll go around the panel and we'll start with ladies first and Queen Charlotte. So what would you rate this Tom Baker story, City of Death?
This is a 10, easy. Like I said, I can't even the alien. It's obviously of its time, but it looks good, so I can't even like knock a tiny point off for effects or like design or anything. Like I said,
Actually,
it's
the one thing we didn't bring up, we forgot to bring up the main thing that this episode is actually famous for was the miniatures, the
Oh,
oh
miniature
yeah,
yeah.
the
sets,
ship. It was
the
really
ships,
impressive.
Yeah.
the models. I mean, again, you wouldn't believe that they were models. It was that good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
like
was
that whole
was?
opening when it's the Earth, like at the beginning, and you see the ship. It feels like almost you're watching a movie of that
Yeah.
time period. It
Yeah.
really doesn't feel like a Doctor Who opening. Yeah, so I'll give this a 10 because like I said, I like witty humor. I like sort of sharp that knows when it needs to stop and then sort of carry on and then stop again. So it's I didn't click this was Douglas Adams when I was watching, but now it
Yeah.
really makes sense.
It was done
Yeah.
with Peter Agnew. That's why it's Doug.
Yeah. I didn't, but now looking back at the episode, I was like, of course he wrote this script. It's such a brilliant wit about it. I love the fact that they're just on a jolly and they don't
Yeah.
need to get into all this. I think that's a nice difference now and again that the Doctor's just sort of wanting to do something a bit quieter and he happens to run into trouble. I like that as a story beat. Yeah, and it's a good mystery with the whole what's going on with the Mona Lisa, what's going on with this alien and all the questions. And it's just a lovely relationship you see with the Doctor and Romana. So yeah, I'll have to give this a 10.
Yeah.
Brilliant. The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS gives it a 9 plus. Peter Harrington gives it a 9 out of 10. We'll just get a few of these in before I go to Lee. Scottish Stavros and Friends Wrestle with Pop Culture gives it a 9.5. Seems you all seem to be determined not to give this a 10 or a 9, but a 9 point something. If you like it, just give it a 10. I'm only messing. We got Zombie Box reviews with a 9.4 out of 10. And with that said, we will ask Lee what his rating is.
10. I never give out 10s.
No,
But-
you don't.
No, that is a rarity.
City of
It
Death.
is a rarity. Actually,
It is a 10.
we could actually probably frame this
Yeah, frame
section.
it.
Yeah, I don't think you have given a 10 before. So that's good. 10. Nothing else to add now, just 10.
That's it.
Okay. PD.
I give it a 9. Like, there's some really good parts of it, but I just thought the cop buddy drama got a little annoying after a while. That's my only real criticism of it. But it was a good episode for its time, and it was classic Dud Adams. It was classic everybody, really. Generally a good episode.
Fantastic. Chris gives it a 9 out of 10. And then he goes,
Happy now.
are you happy now? No. Yes, I am. Look, I can't. I have to be in agreement with Lee and Charlotte here on this one. This
Hello,
is one
John's
of me.
fan.
This is actually one of
Hello,
my
Daniel, as
favorite.
well.
That's one.
hello,
This
Dan.
is one of my favorite stories that I like to revisit. Actually, Tom Baker. I do like Tom Baker's era. Have to say, sometimes when I'm in in a different mood, I prefer the Pertwee era. It depends on the mood though, but it's pretty close between those two. But yeah, this is a great story. I mean, the miniatures. I mean, have you ever seen the documentary on the DVD? There's a documentary
behind
with
it?
us. Oh, I don't know now. You've put me on the spot there.
Yeah.
Let's hold on now. I'll Google that. It's handy.
Yeah. Just wondering who was
Who was the model maker?
was it Matt Irvine?
Yeah,
So-
who was like special effects for this. I
Yeah.
don't know what
Was it
the
Matt? and
title would be.
So the model set lighting was Harry Oakes.
Hmm. I was wondering if it was Matt Irvine, because that's kind of like roughly the time that Matt Irvine came into it.
Maybe he worked on it, but he wasn't like the principal
because it
one
was
at this
the
point.
BBC special effects team, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Before it got shut down, like everything else at the BBC.
Well, yeah, the BBC back in the day. Bit of a joke, but what can you say?
Yeah.
Stuff. So let's see. I rarely give anything a 10. Says Zombie Box Reviews. I like that. I like that name. It's not quite a 10 for me, but higher than a 9 with loads of laughing emojis.
Daniel gave it 9.5. That's what he's talking about.
Is it Matt Irvine? Asks Peter Harrington.
Yeah, so I think it's probably 0.
Legend of the Traveling TARDIS says, I would definitely use this episode as an entry for someone who hasn't seen classic Doctor Who. Yeah. The only episode that comes to mind that I would give a 10 would be Waters of Mars. I would agree with you on that one. I love Waters of Mars. It's a great story, actually. Tennant's Doctor goes a bit crazy in that episode. Very interesting thread that they had followed. Nothing really ever came of that, which has always been a bit of a thing that annoyed me about that. I know they did Big Finish, right? Time Lord Victorious.
But nobody
nobody bothered with that. That was an absolute commercial failure.
Time Lord disastrous,
because you get writers in that haven't got a clue. That's what happens, and you got writers that have an agenda and are using Doctor Who as a platform to spout nonsense. That's what happens, right? And hopefully we're entering an era again where Doctor Who is put first before anything else, and the writing and the stories are good. But before you go, guys, just briefly, because I spoke about this yesterday, I will be talking about it more on the TARDIS Zone Talks at 5:45 on Friday, so tune in for that. But guys, I need to ask you while I have you here, Bernard Cribbins and BAFTA and their omission, leaving him out of the BAFTA. So it's caused quite a stir that RTD even commented, called them idiot, the work of idiots, he said. And then BAFTA kind of quickly backtracked and says, well, they'll consider him for the what was it, the TV BAFTAs or something, or the film, what was it, TV BAFTAs or something, but his name is listed on the online section. But obviously people are saying that's not good enough. My point that I made is that Bernard Cribbins worked both on TV and he was in movies, so he should be recognized on both BAFTA award ceremonies. Have you guys got any opinions on this? I think it's absolutely disgusting. And again, BAFTA, what more can we say about BAFTA? This is the same organization that took Noel Clarke's BAFTA away based on a newspaper article full of alleged crimes that were never reported and no investigation done, confirmed by the police, but they still took his BAFTA. So I'd like to ask you guys, what do you think of that? What do you think of BAFTA's behaviour?
Well, it to me just solidifies the fact that they don't actually care for work done. They don't actually care for quality and for the industry. They care about themselves. They care about their friends and the people they want to put on a pedestal and celebrate. And Bernard was obviously not part of that list. They didn't see him as important enough to be part of the television in memory aspect.
Memorandum,
and for somebody who also basically worked all his life, like obviously there's bits when he wasn't busy, but when he could work, he did from his 20s up until, I mean, we now know when he came to film what he's done for this 60th.
That he
He
wasn't
was
a well
not
man.
well. He probably shouldn't have done that filming, to be honest, for his own health.
But
But
he
he
wanted
did
to.
it because he
Yeah,
loves working, he loves the industry, and that's what got me more. I can't think of an actor who so overtly loves the craft and
Yeah.
loves the industry, and then for the industry to slight him and to
Yeah.
think he's not important,
Worthy
like I
enough.
said, or
Worthy enough,
worthy,
yeah.
or any of those sort of words, even just to include in a picture and his name.
Yeah.
It's not like we wanted them to do a whole dedication to him. We just wanted him to be part of that list on for a minute at most. But like I said, it just solidifies. It's always been a very pally group,
Oh
a very
yeah.
clicky group, a very if you're with us, you're with us, and it's just disgusting. It's just utterly disgusting. That's what I sort of my opinion.
Lee,
What do you want?
your opinion on the whole bear. Don't tell me you haven't been listening.
Well, look, I'll be surprised. This is the same organisation that took Noel Clarke's award from him. These people are all about patting themselves on the back, being seen to be doing all these stunning and brave things. But of course, they don't care about any of these things. They just want to be seen to be self-congratulatory because it's lovey darling season. RTD was absolutely right to call them out on that. I think it's an absolute abhorrent shame on them. It's just one of a line of really misjudged, idiotic, avoidable things that they've done, and I'm not remotely surprised. It's really sad. It really does goes to show that so much in the media is just overrun by a bunch of sociopaths who really don't care about anything other than themselves and their appearance, how they're perceived, to the point that they get so arrogant they make these sorts of really rookie errors. Frankly, it's very insulting.
And Lee, I can't help but think there's a bit of classism here because Bernard I think he came from working class roots. He's always come across.
He has, and he served in the war as well.
So it's like he's not part, like you said, he's not part of that lovey-dovey clique. He never was.
Well, I mean that's quite possible. I mean, I don't know if the evidence is there for that necessarily, but I will say the absence of him being even remembered.
It's
after all his decades of entertaining so many generations of kids and families and friends and people and all sorts. He was universally loved by so many people, and for BAFTA of all bloody organisations, unsurprisingly, really, to forget is quite frankly unforgivable.
I know they were too busy pandering. Couple of days before the award ceremony, throwing out videos and stuff like that. And also, there was a bleeding, they got some woman, the bleeding, sing a song about all the female stars that were at the BAFTAs, the cringiest thing.
Yeah, old dead white guys don't matter. It's basically what they're saying here. Like, that's what it looks like to me. They're so busy falling over themselves to be seen celebrating diversity and inclusion, they forgot to include, someone who's given so many decades of his life to entertaining so many and given joy to so many. And that is the downfall of intersectional idiocy, because you're not celebrating people on the merits of what they have given to so many people. And that is absolutely distasteful, disgusting, and shame on them.
Yeah.
Because it's just virtue signaling, and then you forget to actually signal those who give virtuously. Genuinely.
Exactly. PD, I'll let you wrap this up, and then we'll do the channel shout out. So what do you think of the whole
just
situation?
Yes, I totally agree with Russell, and I just think it's going to be another nail in BAFTA's coffin, because people just aren't watching the BAFTAs anymore. They're killing it.
Yeah.
It's the attitude. Their elitist attitude is killing everything. Their lazy elitist attitude now.
Well, they're trying to be like the American award shows as well, I've noticed. The BAFTAs.
Yeah.
The BAFTA stood out years ago because it was quite unique and it was different.
Yeah.
But now they're all these award ceremonies are doing it. And don't get me wrong, years ago I watched them and I was interested in them. I
Yeah.
haven't been interested in an award ceremony
no.
now in years. But the point is that at one of these, especially a British one, where a great actor
Yeah.
and a hard-working actor like Bernard Cribbins is not even recognised
Yeah.
after he passed away is absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah.
And then even their reply was kind of, well, we'll consider him for the list.
Yeah,
No, you
it's
don't.
like even
Bit
then
late
they're not
now.
seeing
You
it.
don't
Are they?
consider. You don't consider. He should be top of that list, as I said in my last video.
Yeah.
He should be top of that list. Consider the cheek of them. Anyway,
Yes,
it's the arrogance.
they're just sticking nails in their own coffin. They're killing their own legacy by doing this. Their attitude is going to kill their own legacy, and no one's going to give a damn about them.
John Jack Rabbit, just literally a couple of minutes. We're wrapping up now. I did have a 20-minute rant at the start about war and the end of the world, but then we got into it and we stuck to it. So we're going to do the channel shout outs now anyway. So we'll start with you, Queen Charlotte.
Yep, so you'll catch me on the Facebook tomorrow night. Now we're going to be live, which I know we're going to talk a bit about Gallifrey 1, and Dan says he's got some pictures and probably going to talk a bit about that and whatever new stuff has popped up in the week. And you'll also shout out to Daniel, my lovely co-host for Scottish Dad Bros and Friends Wrestle with Pop Culture.
Fantastic. PD.
You can find me sometimes in Rabbi's chat. I just want to give a shout out to Gobby, Christian Basil, and to our good friend Jack in the chat. Anyone I miss?
Hey, Jack.
Fantastic. Lee.
You can find me at The Problem Being on Twitwats, and Aldred Audiovisual is my channel. You can just type in @Aldred and it should pop up.
Fantastic. And I'm here every Monday at 7 with New Who's On. Tuesday, membership stream. Let's hope the next one's not taken down, but there you go. Wednesday, 6:30, as you've noticed, Classic Who's On, and we've just been talking about Tom Baker. And then Friday, Tarzan talks at 5:45, and then Friday night with myself, Lee, and Chris, 9 o'clock for Friday night contact. And there you go. He Legend of the Traveling TARDIS has dropped a super chat to let everybody know that it's tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There you go. I'll get you at 11 p.m. UK time. We're talking about Pensacon. So there you go. So you can go and check that out. And thank you for the super chat as well. Really appreciate it. And I see PD is actually putting all the links in there as well. So yeah, so join us for the TARDIS Zone talks. Obviously, we'll have Chris Chibnall apparently has made some quotes.
Oh,
so I'm looking into deeper into that. But let's just say, if true, then he has confirmed everything that we all have been talking about from day one, and he's an utter disgrace. And all I'll just say is that I feel very sorry for Jodie Whittaker and Joe Martin. I have to be honest, because if you're only hiring someone based on their gender and their skin color, you're an absolute disgrace. And the fact that he has come out and still said that anybody, if true, if anybody that didn't like the female doctor or the doctor couldn't be female, you're wrong, apparently, according to the arrogant sod. If true, obviously it's been floating about on Twitter. I haven't seen any video footage. That's the thing. We can't actually confirm this, but apparently it's being confirmed by people that were there. But I'm kind of baffled because anytime there has been any of these, even if it's Jodie Whittaker showing up, there has been a lot of footage. I just haven't seen any footage on this. So this could be because someone was making up a fake quote of David Tennant apparently coming out of Doctor Who magazine saying that basically he was back to save the show and all of this and blah, 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 blah. But it's a fake quote. So these could be fake quotes from Chibs. We don't know. But as I said, I am trying to find some footage to see if I can actually hear it come out of his mouth. And as I said, if it has, Well, then he's confirmed everything that every single channel that was opposed to this era was saying, was telling you the truth. This man was clueless. This man, I'm starting to think he was brought in deliberately. To be quite honest with
Sabotage.
you, yeah, I do. So they could start afresh or something, or just because they knew it was stagnating or something. But that wasn't the answer, in my opinion. But there you go. But we'll find out if those quotes.
Oh no!
true.
At least we gave him a try. You know.
That's it. We gave.
Complain at us for not giving Chibnall a try. We gave him a try, and he failed miserably. So there we go.
That's it. Right, we'll leave it there. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm off now to chill for the rest of the night, and maybe watch a bit of football. I think there's Champions League football. I don't really pay attention unless it's my own team, but I'll bring Ted out first because he's in here sniffing around me now. So there he is with his floppy little ears. Hey, chunky balls. You all right? No?
I want chunky balls, I'll tell you that.
Anyway, right, I'm going to have to bring Chunky out. So, we'll leave it there. Say goodnight, panel.
No.
Good night, panel.
He'll get it right one day.
Eventually.
One day. One day.
We'll pay him, we'll get it right.
Right. We will see you next. Oh, guys, yeah, we forgot. We've got to pick the next story. So, Lee picked the last one. So, do you know what? We'll let Queen Charlotte pick the next one.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, would you like PD to pick it, then you pick
please.
it and have a bit of thing? Right, PD. You can have any classic Doctor.
Yeah.
And any story of that classic Doctor.
I hope I'm around next week when I've got time, but I would go for Genesis of the Daleks.
Okay.
Yeah. That was
Okay.
Because if I go for Daleks Invasion of Earth, I'm going to rant on about how bad the sound is for 2 hours. You don't want that. You just don't want me ranting on about the sound.
Okay, so it's Genesis next week. We have spoke about Genesis quite a lot, but this will be different because, as I said, you know, we won't be watching it. We'll be just discussing it. Yeah. So it's Genesis, another Tom Baker story. Right, so what I'll do is
I won't pick Tom Baker.
Right, grand, because I'm going to put a new rule in place right now. We can't pick two. We can't go more than two classic the same classic Doctor twice. Right.
Well, so you don't want to do Enlightenment, do you? Oh.
So we'll let it go this week, right? But from next week onwards, obviously, a story from.
I'll have a think.
About
you can do a Patrick Troughton, can't you?
Yes, that's what I'll probably end up doing. I'll have a think.
Yeah, have a think about it. Yeah.
War games. Be here all night.
Yeah, we'll be here all night. Yeah, exactly.
No, in part 5, this happened, and in part 10.
Yeah. Oh man, those long episodes used to kill me watching them. Feck's sake, imagine we used to do them all as well. At the same
time, a great serial, but I called it the chore games because it's just hard to get through in one sitting.
Yeah, it is. It is. That's one you have to watch over a couple of nights.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get out of here. Have a good one, folks. Good evening. Stay safe. Look after yourselves, and we'll be back on Friday. Talk to you then. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow.
What is going on? StreamYard. Right, second trailer's coming up.